Hello, all. Hopefully, you have a good day, like everyone, and hopefully, this is the last video in this series. We did try yesterday, and we completely failed in performing the upgrade from Business Central 14 to Business Central 23. Um, so, in this series, what we have covered, let's quickly do a recap. In the first part of this series, we upgraded from NAV 2016 to Business Central 14. In the second video of the series, we understood how to use the text to AL tool. In the third video of the series, we did some preparation for the upgrade where we built some extensions, and let me walk you through around those. So we built some our actual extension for the customization that we learned from text to AL. We also built some empty versions of the base app, the system app, and the custom app. Additionally, we built two extensions, one for the base BC14 tables only, version 1, and then version 2, because they will be required for the migration. Then we did try to perform the upgrade steps as listed in Microsoft article, and then we hit a roadblock. What was the roadblock? If you haven't seen the previous video, hopefully that is important at this point to understand. So this was the error message that we had last time when we did the migration, which is there were some tables which were causing some problems that they cannot be located. Now, as promised in the previous video where we completely failed, we'll understand how you can kind of eliminate this problem so that you don't see it. In this case, all these tables are from Microsoft, but there can be other tables which may cause problem into this upgrade. So before we start the video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. Another request, while watching this video, if you have any questions, if there is a detailed explanation of any particular step is needed, do let them add those into the comments. I'll try to follow up on those comments as soon as possible. And without wasting further time, let's get into it. So we upgraded this environment from 2016 to Business Central 14 in the first part of the video. We followed all Microsoft steps, but we were still got some error while performing the upgrade. So now what we'll do is we'll try to see what steps you can take to make sure this never happens. So remember this is Business Central 14 upgraded from NAV 2016. So I'll take all these tables out and save them somewhere. Let's do it in the demo, and let's say all objects. Now all tables, right? I'm just doing tables because for the migration, I'm only concerned about the tables, and I save them as FOB. Now this is the tables that I'm getting from any version that I'm coming from, not just 2016. You might be coming from NAV 3.7, 2.6, or any prior version that you can think of. Once you are on Business Central 14, make sure that you have a Cronus environment of the same version that you are in. So if you remember, we are using BC14CU10. So I'll open this Cronus environment and I'll try to import the object set from my custom or my database into this. I'm not importing it. I'm just opening the import worksheet. Now there will be two kind of objects. One, which we'll call replace, which means the table already exists and do you want to replace it or not? And that is not what we are bothered about. What we would like to do is filter this list for type create. Now, because my customer environment or the environment that I upgraded to is Business Central 14 CU10, so all the Microsoft table should by default be tagged as replace, and all my custom table should be tagged as create because they don't exist in the Cronus environment. But when I do this filter of create, what I notice here that yes, I see a 50,000 table, which makes complete sense. But I also see some of the tables which are available in my customer environment, which are not part of the standard Business Central 14 release. Which means either Microsoft forgot to add that step into the migration, or I as a migrator forgot to delete these old legacy table which are not part of Business Central 14. So this is the easiest way to figure out which are the tables which are not part of this particular version. Copy them, put them into an Excel, and let's build a filter for it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the basic Excel of doing a concatenation of the number above and the number on the left. And I'll just drag it. What I'll get at the end is all the tables in a piped filter so that I can apply it on my database. I copy this filter, skip this import. I don't want to do it. Go back to my actual environment, my customer environment, and apply the filter which I just created. As I apply the filter, I see some of the tables which are available in my custom environment, but these tables are not part of the standard BC14. So I can simply select all of them and delete them with force. Once they are deleted, now all my tables are either custom tables that I built or all are other Microsoft table which are supposed to be in a Business Central 14 environment. Just to make sure nothing goes wrong, I'm just doing a sync with validation. Once the sync is over, I'm pretty much sure that everything is sorted here. So before we move further, let's take a pause and let's think about what are our next steps. So in the part 3 of this video series, where we build these extensions which will be required for today's video, the only thing that we'll have to change, if you remember this, is we'll have to rebuild the version 1 of BC14 base app tables only. Now the reason behind it, because the tables that we deleted are also exist in this extension. They're not part of the version 2 because the version 2 just contains some temporary tables and a migration.json, which if you haven't seen the part 3, go ahead and watch that first. So what we are going to do, we'll have to rebuild this, this extension version 1. So we'll be good with the rest of the steps going forward. So I'll not get into detailed explanation of the step. I'll just quickly try to process them and not waste much time into it. So what I'll do is, so before this, if you remember, we had to rename this table so that it matches to my custom extension table name. Let me quickly check that. Okay, the table is called SDH demo. So I'll have to make sure the name of the table also have the SDH prefix already attached. Okay, I did that change. I did compile that object and that should be synced into my SQL at this point. The next thing that we did is, let me just load my Business Central 14 commands that you might have seen in the previous one. Okay, so I have the module loaded. That's what I needed. Now the first thing that we have to do is export all table objects from PowerShell. So what I'll do is export nav. Oh, my bad. Let me do that here. Let me copy this. And there's a slight change in the path. This becomes program files x86, Business Central 140, total client.ps1. Let's run this. I'll get an export nav application object, and I'll just set the parameters that I need, which is pretty simple. This is my server name. This is my database name. And I would like to, let's say, place it in my here. Let's do this here. Let's call it as text to AL just to keep it simple. I would like to store it here. Okay, and we'll call it as BC14 tables only .txt. Okay, export to new syntax, and then if you remember, we did set a filter in here while we are doing this. So let's set that filter, which is for table and the table number. Now, because I have multiple versions installed, I'll have to run it from the development shell. Okay, let's run it through. And this should generate the file for me with all the tables that I have in this database into one single text file in my folder. Now, once this happens, or while this is happening, let me also open my text to AL command so that I can prepare for that. And the table was downloaded. Okay. I'll also have to go to the same folder. So let me just do that, copy it from here. And if you think I'm moving fast, go ahead and watch that part 3 video where we have in detail explain about this step. Now what I need is my text to AL, then my source path, which is actually at this folder. So let me copy this. Okay, and then my target would be the same path, and then there will be an AL folder after this. Then if you remember, we also have to set this parameter of table data only. Now if there's no folder, let me create that. AL. Okay. Now when I run this, this should build all the table only files into my folder if everything goes well, and it does start creating those. Now as it kind of formats it, what I'll have to do after that is copy all this into my folder or the source folder where we created the extension, and then rebuild the version 1 so that it matches to what's needed from it. So it's done. There are no errors, and we are good with this. Okay. So now what you're going to do is from this folder where we have everything, I need all AL file and XLF file, which are for the language. And I'll just select all these files and delete them. So what I did, I applied the filter here for AL and XLF. And if you notice, there are 1443 files. So just keep that number in mind, 1443 files, and I deleted them. Okay. Now I come here and the number is 1435. So the tables that we deleted were part of it. That kind of confirms that. And I copy it in here, paste it again here. That will kind of be ready to build my version 1 of the app, which I needed, right? There was one error last time, compile error, which we'll have to fix. So let's wait for it to load, and then we'll start building this. So here it is, where there is a profile table relation, which causes an error. So I just removed it. Everything else looks fine. I have the version 1.0 set here, and I'll just do a build of it. As soon as I do a build, which is Control-Shift-B, it'll tell me that the package is created. And that's it. That's all we needed to change in whatever we were doing. So I'll just copy this out so that I don't have to waste time into it later. And I'll replace it here. Done. So now we have solved the error that we got last time by removing the tables which were not part of the BC14 app or BC14 version. So let's quickly go through and then we'll start from there. So what we did, we talked about the destination app for migration because the setting is used to transfer the ownership of table, and we'll see how that is used. We also talked about the migration.json, which helps us to migrate the tables and field from one extension to other extension. Um, we have BC14 compatible, version 23 compatible with BC14. In this case, I'm using BC14 CU10, and this is the compatibility metrics that you should always check while performing the upgrade. So when you come down here, I'm using CU10, which is here. So from CU10, I can actually go to 23.0. And if you don't know how to read this compatibility metrics, just add a comment and I'll in detail explain you how to use it. But I'm pretty much comfortable with it because I'm using 23.4 for BC. Okay, once that is done, we did perform the text to AL. We installed the version 23. As I said, I installed 23.4. If you have another version, do check the compatibility metrics. For the demo purpose, I don't have permission set, so I'm skipping this step. Move code to customization to extension, which we have already done. We also build the empty base system and customization extension in the part 3 of this video. So if you haven't seen that, go back and watch that. And we also created the table migration extension, which we just corrected. We corrected the version 1 of that table migration extension. Because version 2 did not have any tables, so we did not have to make any changes over there. So there's no need to cover this. There's no need to cover this. And let's get into the data upgrade. Make sure that you have a backup of your database. Otherwise, if there is a failure, you'll not be able to roll back to a previous stage, which will cause problems. Okay, so let's get ahead with it. So if you are using data encryption in your current Business Central 14 version, then disable it. I'm not using it, but if you are, just go to the encryption management page, download your key and disable it. Going forward, let's move ahead. You need to start Business Central 14 as administrator on the administration cell and then perform some steps. As discussed in the previous video, I've already done the preparation, so let me open it and I'll walk you through around it. Okay, so let me keep these sideways. So the first step that says is uninstall all the extension from your environment. And for that, Microsoft have given one single line of command, which is get all the apps from your tenant and then uninstall them in the single line. Then in Business Central 14, there are some symbols that you have. So for that, you have to unpublish all system, test, and application symbol. For this, there is again the single line of code, but just one change, which is the symbol only. Once you do that, it unpublishes all the symbols. Then we are not doing multi-tenant, so this step is skipped, and then you stop all the services. These are the 3 steps that you have to perform in Business Central 14. One is uninstall all the extension that you have in Business Central 14. Either it's custom extensions, your customizations, or anything, you have to uninstall them, which can happen like this. Then you have to unpublish all extensions, and then you have to unpublish all the system, test, and application symbols. So with this, I've just kind of merged them all together, and what I can do is I can just select all this, run this. I prefer to run it twice because if there are cross dependency, you might see some error messages. So I'll run it, and this time I'll also use the stop into it. So this will try to uninstall everything and stop the service, which is verified by my client to be closed. Okay, so we are good here. We have the environment and we have performed all the step that was supposed to be done on Business Central 14. After that, because Microsoft have changed how licenses are generated. In the previous version, there was an FLF file. Now there is a .bc license file that is required. So you have to clear all the references of that license from your SQL Server. So just copy this and then go to your SQL Server, do a new query, and paste whatever you have copied. Let me zoom this in, zoom this out if needed. No, looks good. Copy your database name, place into your app database name and tenant database name. Once all is sorted out, select all of them, execute the query. It'll remove all the license references that you have either in the old version or you have saved license in the database. Once this is done, let's convert the database to Business Central 14, Business Central 23 again. Because we failed last time, I have some steps already prepared from the last video. So I'll start using those, but I'll go through explanation of each and every step. Okay. So the first thing that you have to do once you start your Business Central 23 upgrade, after you have completed everything that need to be done on Business Central 14, is to convert your database, which in a NAV word means open your old version database with a newer version executables. But because in Business Central version, there are no platform or application that get installed, you have to perform the conversion via PowerShell. And for that, there is this command to invoke the nav application database conversion, where you need to provide two details. One is the database server and another is the database name, which I have already listed down here. This is my database server and this is my database name. So I can just run this. This will ask for confirmation, would suggest me to take a backup. And once I have converted it, I cannot use this database on a Business Central 14 environment. And I say yes. This will perform the conversion of database and will kind of technically convert it to Business Central 23. Now, once you have done that, what you have to do is you have to configure your version 23 for destination app for migration and for other things. So we'll understand it. Now in this step, what you do is you set your service tier, which is till Business Central 14, you have this panel available, right? You can change things here. But with the latest version of Business Centrals, you don't get the administration panel. So you have to use PowerShell to change the setting on service. So the first setting it is changing is setting up the database name on the service tier. Second, it is setting the destination app for migration. Third, it is disabling the task scheduler. So if there are any job queues, they don't run during the upgrade. And then it is restarting the service. Going forward, it is importing the BC23 license file into your database and then restart the server instance. For all that, what I've done here, and let me close this, is I've set all these settings here. The first one is setting the database name on the service tier. So server instance BC23, the property database name is set to my database name. Second, it is setting up the destination app for migration. Now remember here, the destination app for migration is the app which will consist all the tables, all your tables, custom tables, and also the Microsoft table. Now, if you remember what we did a while ago, is we built this BC14 apps tables only. This extension, the version 1 of this extension, holds all the table, not the version 2. So what I've done here is I've added the app ID of this version 1 extension, or sorry, this extension, and let me go into and show it to you. This app ID is used into this property here, the app ID. The other is the name, which is BC14 apps table data apps only, which is this. The publisher is me, and the version that I'm using, pay focus to it, is 1.0.0, which is the first version where all the table exists from Microsoft, from custom table, everything exists here. So you need to specify the version 1 of your table only extension as the destination app for migration. Then you disable the task scheduler and you restart the service. Then you import the license, your partner license, and you restart the service. So what I'll do is I'll run all this in one set. So it is now setting up those properties on the service tier. We'll restart the service. You'll get a message which is done. Import the license, and then to apply the license, you'll need to restart the service. One thing which I know from a personal experience, and it is for some reason not listed into this article, that before you proceed further, make sure to go to the properties of the database, options, and make sure that the compatibility is set to the latest possible version, because you are upgrading to the latest version. There are different compatibility labels which are supported with different Business Central versions, so make sure it is set to latest. Surprisingly, it is not listed in this article. Okay. Moving forward. Now it says publish the destination app for migration extension. Now remember, it is saying to publish the app that you have listed here in the destination app for migration. Whatever that app was, the extension was. So first you need to publish that app. Then it says to publish the empty version of system application, the base application, and the custom application if you have any. Now remember this, because all these extension, the destination app for migration extension, empty base and empty system application, and the custom empty extension that we have created, were created by us and they are not signed. So you need to make sure that you set the skip verification switch on your publish commands, and after that restart your service. So let's go back here. What I've done, I've set publish the NAB app on this service where the path is this, and let me open the folder inside so that we can see where these paths are pointing. Okay, so the first one would be pointing to this file, which is the 1.0.0.0 app. The second one will point to all my empty apps, which is the base app, the system app, and the custom app. If you notice here, the path is for system application on the empty app folder, the base application, and the demo customization. All these are empty apps, and then I'm trying to restart the service. So let's run this particular set. Now what is happening right now is it is trying to publish the first app that it tried to publish is which have all the tables that are available in the database. Now before we move further, I want to show you something here on SQL so that you understand the concept of the destination app for migration. So when you look into a standard Cronus version, and it can be any, let's say BC23, the tables name are a little bit different, and every table has this GUID attached. Now this GUID, what you're seeing right now, is a GUID that comes from Microsoft extension of system app and base app. Now this GUID explains you on which extension this table belongs to. 63CA2F is the GUID for the base app, and then there is another for system app and all. Currently in our database, there are no GUIDs in any of the tables. They are just simple BC14 tables. Now we did publish them, all these different apps that Microsoft suggested, and Hopefully, yeah, the publish is complete. Now we'll see what happens when we move to the next step. The next step is to synchronize the tenant. We are not multi-tenant, so we'll skip this. Okay, so here is what we need to do. Synchronize the tenant with application database, which is just a sync tenant command. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run this alone, which is sync nav tenant this. Now this will synchronize my tenant. Now this is just making sure that everything looks good. There are no issues on your database and everything kind of works the way it is expected at this point. But while this is happening, let's read it through. Then it says synchronize the tenant with table migration extension. The extension that you created in task 5, which is the version 1. So if you look at it, here I'm trying to sync the app of BC14 tables only version 1.0. We haven't ran it yet. We'll run it a while ago, in some time. And then this step will create empty table in database for table on the table migration extension. We'll see what happens when you run this. And then it says synchronize the empty version of system, base, and custom that you have created. So after this is done, I'm going to sync the system, base, and demo. All three extensions, the empty versions of those extensions. Before we move further, let's just quickly refresh this to see is anything changed here. And till now, nothing has changed. Okay. So now let's do this bunch together. What we are doing right now is synchronizing the table only extension version 1 and all three empty extension, system, base, and demo. So let's run this. And with this execution, there should be some change on SQL. What you're thinking? Pause the video, write it into the comment section. What will change on the SQL server when all these extensions are synchronized? The 4 extension that we are synchronizing is the BC14 base app table only, which contain all the tables from Microsoft, from your custom tables. Everything is part of that extension. The system application extension, which is an empty version of it, and the base application and demo customization that we have. Now to illustrate what we are doing, let's understand it from this perspective. We had Business Central 14 with Cal customization. We created a table only extension and also define that particular extension detail into the destination app for migration. To proceed further, what we did is we created these 3 empty apps: the system app, the base app, and the pertinent extension or the customization extension that we had. So now based on this info, what do you think what would have changed into SQL Server? If you have not made the guess, pause the video and make the guess to see what you right or wrong. What I'll do is I'll refresh this. Okay. Expand it. Let's get into the tables. And just by running the sync, you see a GUID attached to all the tables. Not all, you don't see it in some of those, and that's a separate discussion altogether. But you see some of the tables have the GUID, or not some, most of the tables have a GUID attached, which is 204B359. Now pay attention to this GUID and this GUID. These are the same GUID, which is not exactly same as the Cronus database has, which has a different number for it. So if you look for account schedule cell value, this is 437. And if you look at account schedule cell value here, it is 204. So when you set the destination app for migration, the ownership of that table, and it is listed here in the article, if you missed that, this step creates this for the migration extension. When completed, the table migration extension the table migration extension takes ownership of the table. All the table which are part of that empty extension, of that table only extension, that extension takes the ownership based on the destination app for migration property. And in SQL Server, you'll notice that table names will be suffixed with the extension ID, and it'll be waiting for the next step. All this is happening because we set the destination app for migration to this ID. Hopefully this is clear. That's what is happening. Okay, now it's what it says. It says install the destination app for migration and move tables. Now here it says start the nav data upgrade for the tenant, and make sure that you copy this and paste it as it is. So let's do this. I'm going to start, and then I'm also running this command to see how the upgrade is moving. Okay, and it's completed because it's a pretty small database that I'm using right now. So to see the progress, I just copied that command from here and that's it. After this, it says install the empty version of system, base, and custom extension. Now remember the order. When you are working on this kind of upgrade, you need to make sure that you follow the right sequence of steps. So remember here, it did publish the table only app first, then system, base, and custom. It synchronized them in the same order. But while it is coming for install, it is only installing the empty apps, the system, base, and demo. Now, if you look at it here, get nav app info on server instance BC230, and let me do tenant default so that we can see everything. Tenant specific properties, and I would like to see it in a grid. You will notice currently in the system, this app is already installed. Others are not. And how it got automatically installed? Because we did not write an install command. It got installed during the data upgrade step because it was listed as destination app for migration. And that's the reason there is no install for that particular app, which is the BC14 app only. Hopefully that's clear. Hopefully. If it is not, you know the drill, add the comment. So let's install all these three apps also. Okay, that get installed. Super simple. Now comes the final biggest step. Now what's happening right now is all our data at this moment is sitting into it, but it actually need to go to the actual system app, actual base app, and actual PTE, for which what we have done is we have created a version 2 of this particular extension. Now this version 2 have no tables. So for system, it's a destructive change. But remember that there is a migration.json file into it, which will look for the same table into all the extension that are listed in that migration.json. So I'll look for all the tables or fields that you have created or customized and look for them into all the different extension, which are actual extension from Microsoft and your PTE extension. So using this, what will happen, and let's go back to our step. Now it says publish the final extension. Now this is the second or the last step of it. Now it says you need to start publishing the extension, and the publishing of these extensions should happen in the following order. The first extension that you need to publish is the second version of the table migration extension, which have no tables and a migration.json. The second extension that you need to install is the system application, and the third that you need to install is base application. Till this point, we were only dealing with these three and our custom extension. But because now you're installing Microsoft extension, you also have to install the application extension and then your custom extension that you have. So if you see it here, the publishing of the version 2 happens here. Then the publishing of the Microsoft system application, for which in the previous video, if you remember, what I've done is I have installed or copied all the Microsoft extensions into this particular folder, and that is represented here in the path. So I'm doing the version 2 of the empty all table extension, then the system application, the base application, Microsoft application, and then the custom extension. Because the first one and the last one were created by us and we don't have code signed, so we use the skip verification. For the Microsoft one, they are code signed, so we don't have to worry about that. Hopefully that's clear. So let's quickly do the publish. Now, once the publish happens, let's read about other things that I have left in this article. Now, to perform the upgrade of any Microsoft or any Business Central environment, you have these core set of extension, which is your system application, your base application, and your application extension. These are the core which are needed for all other extension. So I'm not utilizing or upgrading any other extension at that point, even if the article says that you need to install other extensions. Specifically for India, you have to follow these steps separately, which is a completely separate video if needed. Then after this, it says synchronize the final extension. Now the sync should also happen in a order, but that order is different than the publish. The sync is happening first for the system application, then for the base application, then for the Microsoft application, and then the customize extension, the customization that you had, the custom extension. And then at the end, the sync is happening for the second version of table migration extension, or the empty version with the JSON file. So hopefully this is done. No, it's still happening because the base app and system apps are pretty big, at least the base app. Now let's understand why this happened in this way. If when the sync happens, it kind of makes sure that the no data is deleted at that point, or you're not making a destructive change. If for the sync we have followed the same set of steps as it is listed in the publish, then the first sync should happen for this app where there are no tables in version 2, and we'll consider that as a destructive change and delete it. Even the migration.json will not help. And the reason is very simple, because all other apps have no references, are not yet synchronized. So to make sure that nothing breaks, the synchronization of these apps are actually done in reverse order. So the first, the system application is synchronized so that the new tables, which are from Microsoft at this point, and I'm pretty sure once we sync this, we will be able to see them here on our SQL server as the sync kind of completes. There will be two versions of it, one with the data and one without the data, more or less. It will be interesting to see, but let's have a look. So now if you look at it, there are two tables, each for the same table, but with the different GUID. The 2041 is the empty table extension, and this is coming from the Microsoft extension at this point. So there are two versions of the same table name, but because they have a different GUID, SQL does allow that. Let the sync be over and I'll show you by running a table where the data actually lies. Okay, the sync completed. Let's pick a table where there will be some data. Okay, let's look for customer if I can. Okay, I only see one version. I might have to refresh this. Okay, let me come on the top. Let me refresh the database and let me look for the customer table. Is there a simple way? Yeah. So let's filter it out for dollar customer. Dollar customer and with a dollar. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, for Canada, there are two customers. The first one should have the data at this point. So if you do this, you'll see that there is data. When you look for the second one, this will not have the data. This is empty. There is a third one, which is the extension or the extension table, which is coming from our custom field. Oh, sorry, custom extension. The data is still with the app which is used for the destination app for migration. Hopefully that's clear. Now, when we do this last sync, this will move the table data from this table, hopefully, to the actual tables, or not this, maybe this step, the upgrade one. But let's test it out. Let's run the sync. I'm a little bit confused about this. So, but let's see what happens with the sync. Does the data actually moves, or do we actually have to perform the next step going forward? Okay, still happening, it's still synchronizing. So we'll wait for it. While we are waiting, let's see what is after that. If you are doing for India, then you have these extensions also needed. And then you have to upgrade the empty table migration extension. For that, you have to run the data upgrade by using this command, and that should complete majority of the upgrade step once the sync kind of gets completed. Still running. And let's quickly have a look on SQL Server what actually is happening. So right now, it is performing some kind of a rename procedure on different kind of tables, and we'll have to wait for it to see what happens, because right now, as far as I can assume, during this sync, it is looking for the table into all the extension that we have listed into our migration.json. And if you don't remember it, let's have a look on this, the v2. So in the migration.json, we listed down some of the extension, which is the system app, the base app, and then our custom app. So because those tables which were available in the version 1, which are not available in version 2, the sync is utilizing the knowledge that is written here to find out the right tables and to see where the data should be moving when this is happening. Now the sync is completed, which is good. As you can see here, it's completed. Let's refresh this and see what happened with the sync. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's a learning. Okay. I don't see that 2.6 table exist anymore. That is removed. Why it is removed? Because the version 2 of that extension have no tables, but the data was moved to my actual Microsoft table. And also the data is moved in my custom extension field that I've created, which is this field. So the sync actually does that. Let's perform the upgrade of it, of the version 2, as we were seeing on the Microsoft article, which got completed. Okay, so you're almost done. Almost. There should nothing much after this. It says clean, sync, and unpublish the table migration extension. You have to uninstall the second version, okay, and then you have to synchronize the extension in a clean mode, which I was there at that point in the last video, but we did not reach to the stage. Okay, so I just copied these command from there, and I'm just replacing it with my actual parameters. Okay, so this is my tenants. Okay, the extension name is this. So okay, this is my extension name. Let's make sure what it is saying. It says uninstall the second version of it. It is not saying uninstall the first version of it. It is saying the version 2. So let's do the version 2. Okay, and here also let's do the version 2. Now with this, the extension version 2 will be completely removed from our environment. Let's do a check. Yes, I would like to run it on a clean mode, and it is done. Now at this point, this removes all the temporary table that were created, and there is nothing at this moment. Okay. Now it says upgrade and install the final extension. Now it says run the data upgrade for Microsoft system, base application, and your custom app. Okay. So let's run the upgrade command. Let me see where this is. This is not, we'll have it, right? Upgrade. Okay. So let me just copy this and paste it here. And here I'll say upgrade actual extensions. Okay. So the first is system application, and let me hopefully copy this as it is. I should be able to just copy all this together. But that's what is needed. And then replace this from the sync. Okay. Okay. And we'll remove this. Okay. So what you're performing is the actual upgrade for all the Microsoft app. One is system, then base, and then application. So the system, base, and application. And this is my custom extension. So I'm trying to perform the upgrade for these. Okay. If there is an upgrade routine written inside of any of these extensions, that upgrade logic will kick in right now and will start executing for these upgrade commands. So you can write the upgrade logic inside your extension, and that set of code only runs when you run the start nav app data upgrade. So every time you perform an upgrade, system looks for the code units that you have in your extension of type upgrade, and if they exist, they actually run them. So we'll wait for it as it happens, but then everything else is pretty simple. You have to upgrade the control add-in, which is pretty simple. Permission sets we are not going to do on this video. I keep reminding people, make sure to set this because this is important, because it tells you what version you are coming to and how you what you'll see on your help and support, right? So we'll surely perform this step. So I'll just copy this while this is happening, add this here. Okay. And follow the commands. So you can do something like this, paste it here. Then you have to run the sync after changing this, and then you have to run the start nav data upgrade. And whenever you run the start nav data upgrade, I prefer to get nav data upgrade so that it's simple. Okay. What else is here? After this, you also have to change the application version on your help and support page that you see in your Business Central. And for that, you have to set this. Okay. And there's an error. Okay. Oh, sorry. Application I should not have tried. My bad. Because there was no application. The system was done. The base was done. And it cannot upgrade the application extension because the previous version was not found. So let's quickly do a check of where we are on our extension. Get nav app info, server instance, BC230, tenant default, tenant specific properties, and out as grid view. Okay. So here we are at this point where my base application is installed, synchronized. Same for my system application. I don't care about these because these are the empty ones. Maybe I should point it on the version. Okay, so this is not needed. The empty one, this is not needed. Demo extension 14 is not needed because the demo extension is here. My system application is not synchronized. Oh no, sorry. System app is synchronized. Application is not installed. I should have, instead of doing the upgrade for application, I should have done the install nav app. My bad. Sorry for that. And the reason why we are doing it, because if you remember when we build the empty apps, we did not build the application app in any of the empty app. So the empty app was system based. So that's the reason why the upgrade of this particular extension failed, which was obvious. So I'll install it and that'll allow me to run my custom extension upgrade. So no worries about it. We are not rolling back again. Okay. Having said that, let's come back to this article. We have changed this, which is good. And then you need to uninstall the table migration extension, enable the task scheduler, empty apps, and all those things. You have to remove them. And that should cover everything that you needed. Okay. So let's just quickly change this. These settings. And your tenant is operational right now, so no worries about this. If you want to see something, you can go ahead and see this. So let's quickly go into my ISS and IIS and just check my BC 230 because it's triggered. We are just, I'll explain you why we are running these steps so that you understand the importance of these steps. Now this is the environment. That should refresh in a while and show us that the data is upgraded. We'll also see what is looks like into extension management. Okay, that my version 23 of the system application and the base and also my custom extension installed. We still see these empty apps which we need to remove, but that's not the reason why I'm here. Why I'm here is to explain you why to run this. So when you go into help and support, which is the only common area where we as partner rely on what you're using, this section tells you where you are. Okay. And the other thing that you need to remember is that sometimes developers try to get the application version by doing a get nav application. And when you try to do that, what you see here is that my application version is still pointing to 14, which is incorrect. So this command, the set nav application, sets the application version to the right version that is supposed to be there, which is your BC23 version. And then you synchronize the tenant to make this change. And then because you're changing something on your tenant, you also run your data upgrade, which just runs for a while. So no worries about it. And I should close it because I'm going to run the data upgrade. And then this one updates your help and support settings, solution extension version, which is the GUID for your base app or system app, one of these apps. So I should not run this. I should run all these together. Because there's a data upgrade step, I would like to wait for it while this is happening. Okay. It says it cannot start the data upgrade. Let me do it one by one. Sometimes there are sessions open, which causes problem. Okay. And hopefully this gets triggered. No, it says, so let me skip the user session. Okay. Okay, and then I can see that it has been completed, and then I can set my help and support. Now, if you try to do the get nav application, you'll see the right application version in your PowerShell. Now, what else is left? The only thing that is left in our Business Central environment now is to uninstall those all legacy apps. Otherwise, they'll be confusing for you and for other users who will be using the system. So what you're going to do is, let's see, I'll go here. These are the Where are the empty extensions? Oh, these are the empty extension. Okay, 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 okay. So we need to remove them. So let's come here, remove empty extensions. Okay. Microsoft did try to tell us how to do it. So let's follow this. Uninstall nav app here. Okay. And I'm removing the version 1, system application, base application, demo customization 14.0. And then they also told us to synchronize it in a clean mode. Okay. So let's remove the version 1. And then, okay. Let's, so that I can copy paste it easier, let me place it here. Okay. Okay. So we had 2, 3, 4. Okay. System application 14.0, which is our empty extension, base, and then the custom extension that we built. Okay. So this should run the mode clean onto it. And they should be uninstalled at this point. I guess I need to do a unpublish. Okay, let's see what is the stage right now. So I do see that there is, let's see the installed status. I see that there is a version 1 which is published true, version 2 which is published true, and these 5 we are talking about, not 4. So they are also published. So once you uninstall, and then when I run the sync, I also have to do one more thing, which is here, instead of uninstall, it will be unpublish. And as we saw, we also have the version 2, and sorry, this video is going a little bit longer. Not something that I wanted. Okay, but that's how it is. Okay. Version 2, and same here. So I'm just trying to remove everything which was an empty extension created for this upgrade purpose. So let's uninstall them. If they are not yet uninstalled, they should be, but let's see. Okay. Then make sure that they are sync in the clean mode. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Until the first one is uninstalled. What happened? Cannot remove the schema until the first one is installed. Is not synchronized. Okay, let me see what's happening, what it is saying. It says cannot remove the schema specified extension until it has first been uninstalled. Okay, so first you need to uninstall, which I did, I guess, for all these 3. Oh, because it is not installed, so it cannot be removed. It is not installed. So yeah, that's not installed. Okay, I might not. Oh, there's nothing on this. So even if I can do a clean, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's remove this. And then I'm just going to unpublish all of these. Okay. The tenant cannot be, oh, sorry. My bad. Just a habit of copying and pasting things kind of leaves you to this point sometime. So I'll just remove this parameter from the unpublished. And if you need this PowerShell and if you think that'll help, just let me know. I'll upload it somewhere so that you guys can access it. Okay. Unpublish this. All looks okay. Now if I go to my Business Central environment, do a refresh of this, on my extension management, I should only see extension that I needed for this environment to have. Okay, so now you see this. Now the other question that I kind of keep on hearing once in a while, that, oh, what That all looks good, but when we get into the Microsoft one, we see a lot of it. In your example, we only see some of it. The rest of the steps are pretty straightforward. Let me see if I can get hold of it, if I have it somewhere. Yes. So if you notice here, what I've done is in this folder, I have all the BC apps that you may not need for your customer. You can decide whatever apps you need. What I've done is I have built this script, which is pretty straightforward. It is trying to publish all these apps which are available in that folder. That's the static path. And then it is trying to sync those apps, as simple as that. And then it is trying to install those apps. I'm not sure will this work as it is, because this is created for something else in the past, but I'll also try to use it. I've defined these two parameters. One is the server instances BC23, and my folder hopefully is correct, C demo BC apps. So you look at it here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this, and you can have other apps into it. Now, because you are coming from Business Central 14, all these, at least Microsoft apps, will be new to this environment. So you need to do the publish, you need to do the sync, and you need to do the installs. But if there is an extension that you already had in Business Central 14, you can have an extension in Business Central 14, then your steps are a little bit different. You publish the new version of it, you synchronize the new version of it, and you have to specify the version property for it. And then instead of doing an install, you run the start nav app data upgrade. So for any new extension, you can just build this list of commands based on your requirement of your customers and install them. The only other thing that you need to remember while building this long command is that you have to maintain the sequence based on their dependency. Let me give you an example. I cannot install email SMTP connector unless I have other emailing apps installed, like email document go, email Outlook REST API, and email SMTP API, because these apps take dependencies on the previous apps. If you just figure that out, sort your list out in the same way, what you'll notice is just by running this command and refreshing it here, I'll be able to see all the extensions that were available from Microsoft. So all those were installed, and I will be able to see all of them as needed for my customer. I'm not suggesting you to install each and every app that comes into the product DVD. Whatever these apps make sense for your customer, and that's between you and your customer to decide, utilize those apps to perform this step, which is publish, sync, and upgrade. Hopefully this time I'm able to explain the whole process. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the long video. I rarely don't do 1 hour long videos and all, but hopefully this is worth your time. Hopefully this helps you in doing all the migration that you're doing from Business Central 14 to Business Central 23 and previous versions. The steps more or less remain same. If you have any questions, please add them into the comments. Also use comments to to let me know how you're liking these videos, or do I need to change something while doing these recordings. Rest, you know the drill. Hit the like button if this content helps you. Do share this so that other people who are struggling with these migration issues can actually gain that knowledge and make their life easier while doing these upgrades. And if you haven't subscribed, or if your friend haven't subscribed, tell them to subscribe it, because there is a lot of content that's coming up this year. I'll see you in the next video, maybe on the next series, sooner than later. Thank you and have a great day.